This is the Nellie Gale Homeowners Association, who is currently suing me in Superior Court in Orange County because they don't like my fence that protects my goats from coyotes. Okay, we've lived in Nellie Gale for almost 50 years. We were just about the first people here, especially in the custom homes. There was quite a few tract houses that had already been built and were lived in, but we were just about one of the very first custom homes in Nellie Gale. And we have off and on, probably for the majority of the time we've been here, of the last 50 years, we've had goats. But for the last few years, we did not have goats. And then the wildfires started getting really bad in our general vicinity here in Laguna Hills. So being pretty concerned about that, I thought we've got to get some more goats back there, and they keep the weeds down. And the other thing is they're fabulous little pets. So about 2 years ago, my wife and I decided, well, let's get some goats back there and let them take care of the weeds. And so in 2024, there was a lot of brush fires, and we could see them from our house. This is from our backyard, and this is maybe about 5 miles away up in the hills behind us. And this is another brush fire that was really close to our home. We have about a half acre of bare land right behind our house. It's a downward sloping hill, and the weeds grow like crazy. I don't know why, but they're unbelievable. One year they were actually over my head. They were over 7 feet high, and they're very, very difficult to keep control of. So the goats are just fabulous little weed eaters, and they keep those weeds down constantly, and they do a great job. So we wanted to get some more goats. Okay, this picture is from over 40 years ago. This was our first goat. This was Wendy. And if you take a look at the back fence, it was a split rail fence. And boy, coyotes could get over this just so easily. It's a completely worthless fence. It's more for controlling horses than for controlling coyotes. Okay, this is the fence that we put in. This is a 6-foot tall chain link, green chain link fence. And of course, we got this approved by the Homeowners Association. And this is only 6 feet high. I would have made it higher, but the limit was 6 feet, I was told by the Homeowners Association. So I limited it to 6 feet because I thought this will certainly keep coyotes out, but how wrong I was. And what we got were these little goats. They're called miniature Nigerian. They are like dogs. They are so friendly and fun to be with. Hello, goats.
Goat house. We called it the goat house because they stored things.
Here's the goat mama.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the goat couple.
Yeah, definitely.
So we wound up buying 4 goats, and they were really cute little young. They're usually about 6 weeks old when they're off the bottle. And this was the fence I had, and this was my Nellie Gale approved 6-foot chain link fence. That's as high as my fence could go. So this is what protected the goats, and I put the goats in the backyard feeling pretty confident that coyotes would not get in my yard. But unfortunately, that was not the case. So one night we heard a commotion out in the back, and my wife said, "It's got to be coyotes." And I went, "No, we got a little spat over it." So we went running out, and she was absolutely correct. The coyotes jumped that fence, and this was what we saw. One mangled goat, luckily not the others. So of course the first thing I thought I had to do, and I knew I had to do, is raise that fence, get that fence higher so coyotes couldn't get over it. So we used a really light mesh that they couldn't get their paws into and raised the fence 2 feet. And this was the result of my 2-foot fence rise. It didn't work at all. This time we lost 3 goats. So the next thing I did is I wound barbed wire tightly to that top pipe, and I put blinking lights on that I purchased through Amazon, and that's supposed to fend off coyotes. So if you look real carefully, you can see the barbed wire that I wrapped in the top pipe. It was really completely invisible from the trail, but I thought that would stop the coyotes from jumping over and grabbing onto that pipe. So this is a picture of the ad for the blinking lights. I put 2 dummy goats out in the backyard because I wanted to see if coyotes would be fooled and jump over the fence, or if they could jump over the fence and tear these goats apart. Well, after about a month, my dummy goats survived. Neither of them got torn up or bit or anything, so I thought, well, I must have really got those coyotes beat, finally. I couldn't believe it. They didn't do anything to the dummy goats, and I felt very confident. And I went and bought 3 more goats, and I just didn't want to give up because these guys are so much fun to have around. You can kind of tell by just kind of watching them. They're just like little clowns. So now I very confidently bought 3 more goats to replace the ones I would lost, and they are just all so cute, and they're so much fun, and they're so tame, and they really love to be around people. So, well, then one day after I had done all of that repair work on the fence, I put the lights up, I raised it, I put the barbed wire on, thinking that would all do it. I walked out, and there was three more killed. I just couldn't believe it. And now we're up to 7 goats killed, and I have been doing everything I could possibly do in my power to keep that from happening, but it happened again. Well, when we drove out to get the goats out in Riverside County, I noticed that along the freeway, their chain link fences had a beveled angle at the top, a 45-degree bevel. And so I thought, I'm going to give it one more try, and if this doesn't work, then I'm finished. So I decided to put a 45-degree bevel at the top of the fences with that very light mesh so you could see through it. And I was going to give it one more try, and if that didn't work, then I was going to completely give up on goats. Well, when I was about 90% done adding my 45-degree bevel at the top, I got a letter from Jeff Hinkle, the assistant manager of the HOA, and he was saying that I have to cease and desist because my fence is now over 6 feet tall. And since it's over 6 feet tall, it breaks the CCNR rules of 6-foot tall fences. They cannot be taller than 6 feet. So Jeff told me I had to meet with the HOA board, and they would determine whether I could keep my fence addition, my fence topping, or not. So I'm going, this is really going to be fun. So this is the point where the HOA could come to me and say, are you having trouble with coyotes? Because obviously I wouldn't put that topping on the fence if I wasn't. And they could have said, hey, what can we do to help you? Can we do any, whatever we can do to help you keep coyotes out of your yard, we will do. Or they could choose to attack me and sue me and threaten me. And that's what they did. They attacked, sued, threatened, all not quite in that order, but they did all of that. So here's my completed fence, and I told them, I said, there are a lot of fences in Nellygill that are over 6 feet. So why can't I be over 6 feet? I have to be to keep my goats alive. Otherwise, I'll have to get rid of the goats. And their response was to change it from your fence is too high to your fence is not architecturally sound. Well, there's no such thing as an architecturally sound fence around a barnyard. Come on. Those split rail fences sure are not architectural. Well, here's my finished fence. You can see just about the whole thing on this single photo. And I think it looks pretty good, and it's pretty invisible. You can see right through it. It doesn't block anybody's view. Few people even use the trail, so if they don't like it, they'll be by it really quick. And mine is 250 feet out of 25 miles of horse trails in Nellygill. There's 25 miles, mine is 250 feet, and they're so concerned about my fence. I met with the Nellygill homeowners, and they said you should have gotten approval first, but of course I didn't have any time whatsoever to get approval because my goats were being killed. My number one and only concern was not the homeowners, it was getting something up that would keep coyotes out of my yard. This is a spreadsheet on how many steps have to be taken to get something approved by the homeowners. It would have taken months to get approval, and in the meantime I wouldn't have had any goats left. They would all have been clobbered by coyotes. And look at all of these different steps, my God, and they would have never approved my fence because it was over 6 feet. I thought if anybody would understand my problem with goats being killed, it would be the Nellygill homeowners, but that was not the case. They didn't understand at all. They treated my fence as if I just put it up just to get at the homeowners, not to protect my goats. But that was not the case. I did it to protect my goats. You would think that if you told somebody that you had 8 goats killed by coyotes that there would be a little sympathy, but there was none. I got nothing but stone faces and no sympathy. We were told we had to meet with the architectural committee to straighten this out, and they would let us know what we had to do to resolve this problem. And they told me that I could put another fence 20 feet up the hill. You can kind of see it in the picture here. 3 fences that I could put 20 feet up the hill, and it could be 10 feet high. And then I could leave the fence near the trail, the one on the bottom, the dark one. I could leave that one but I had to take the topping off of that. And then behind that is a 12-foot tennis court fence. That was one of the options they gave me, which was, of course, so ridiculous. The fence is 260 feet long, and the sides between the neighbors would add another 110 feet. So it'd be 450 feet of 10-foot chain link fence. That's one of the options they gave me. It's just so ridiculous and way too expensive. They gave me this diagram of how it should look, and then they wanted me to plant flowers in between the 2 fences. This project would be incredibly expensive, well over $50,000, plus the monthly upkeep. I'd have to have somebody down there picking weeds since the goats couldn't do it. What looks better? This idea that they have, or my idea just the way it is? I pick my fence, and I like the price of mine much better. It doesn't cost anything to just keep it up and maintain it. Well, the second idea is I could build a 450-foot block wall with a wrought iron addition on the topping. And of course, my neighbors could not be expected to chip in. They're perfectly happy the way the fences are, so they're not going to pay any money to put a block wall up. And it would look silly to do the back lot line of my property, which is 258 feet long, and not do the sides. Leave the sides chain link. That would not work or look good. So this would be a major undertaking financially. And the third option they gave me was I could take the topping off the fence that I put on it, and it would look something like this. And my goats would look something like this. I gave them 4 proposals, but they turned everyone down without discussion. I suggested that he change the height of the barnyard fencing so that our livestock can be protected. He turned that down. I suggested that I cover the outside of the fence with plants since he's so concerned about the architecture. He turned that down because he said it would get in the way of the horses, which it would not even come close. I suggested that he give us a variance since we can only have the goats for a couple more years. The answer was no. Virtually every neighbor that I have that has had problems with Nellie-Gale HOA advised me to just ignore their requests, and they eventually go away. And in this case, they did not go away, and here I am in Superior Court. So this is what happened to my goats, and for trying to protect them, I am being sued.